that it was finally 11 o'clock at night whenever I finally beat it. But at like 9:30, 10:30, I was like, please end, please just end.
Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel. We're a podcast about video games, anime, entertainment, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host, as always, Joe, and with me, the person who just woke up from the wet fever dream that is Hideo Kojima. All right, Nick. How you doing, Nick?
Good. Yeah. I'm so. Oh yeah, I did shower first. Yeah. Yeah, he was chasing me in this dream, and he was naked and I was not, and there were hundreds of people all around us, but everyone that we would approach as I was running to get their help, um, that they would turn around, and then when I would grab their arm or their shoulder and turn them back around, their face would just be Kojima again, or sometimes Sam Bridges, or sometimes uh, you know uh, any of the other. Is it Chad Baker? Is that Chet Baker? No, Chet Baker's the jazz artist. Uh, anyway,
Troy?
Troy Baker. Yeah, same thing. That was the worst. That was the worst. But yeah, and then I woke up and I was on the roof of my apartment building. I didn't even know there was a way to get on the roof, so I had to jump in under the tree, and then I was naked for some reason. Um, so yeah, then I came in, took a shower, and sat down, and we started the podcast.
Good old Kojima abductions. All right. That'll be your new.
It's good, good. I like that.
All right. Well, let's see here. Recording a little bit early this week. You got some trips ahead of you, so you won't be around for our normal time.
Yeah.
But we actually did get to do some gaming this week. Surprisingly, we crammed it in. All right. So I'll kick us off. We talked about Mafia: The Old Country last week and how we both finished it and we rather liked it. Uh, I mentioned how I was pretty close to finishing it completely. So I got the plat is what I did.
Mhm.
Uh, it took me an extra few hours, some minor, like object grinding. One of the easiest ways to do that for me was I had to get another trophy for creating or doing enough assassins, murder takedowns. And the entire game, I pretty much played it where you just choked everyone out.
Mhm.
I forget which knife it is, but it's the one with like the highest durability. They
Oh,
have a they have a special buff behind it where if you do an assassination takedown, it auto loots for you, and so that makes it kind of easy. I think it's the Vendetta mission where you're the first time you're infiltrating the house. It's the mission where you have to kidnap the guy, and that's
yeah.
the
You
death where
you were saying
you
you're able to farm at that point,
yeah,
pretty well.
because
Yeah.
pretty much all I did was I went ahead and went in there, did the first tier of area. I ran through, assassinated a bunch of people, and that means I was auto looting. And there's at least two or three blue little chests there. You have to break open for the loot boxes.
Mhm.
And by doing that and just resetting a handful of times, you're just able to get that really easily. Also, it was convenient because the other one that took the most time is the collector a trophy, where you have to collect all the clock statues, I think it's the newspapers and the saint cards. That was it. Those are the saint cards. Those three.
Mhm.
The Unfortunately, the fox statues don't show up until after you've collected them, which is really annoying. Turns out the Vendetta mission was I actually missed a fox statue because I collected all of them except for that one, and I had to painstakingly go through a list and then double check what I had in my inventory.
Mhm.
So then I'm like, oh, okay, well, it happened to be in that level, so I was able to like get the kills, get the loot, get the fox statue, and the bonus for getting all the fox statues was that screenshot I shared with you at the when I did get the platinum because I got it right before the last trophy I got was to hit 120 kilometers for like 15 seconds, which took me a handful of tries
Mm,
because there's not really that much road in which you can safely scream down without crashing.
yeah.
So yeah, the special object you get for collecting all the fox statues is in your apartment, in Enzo's apartment. You get the fox statue that appears there, and the little fox is holding a outfit. So then when you click on it, you go to your wardrobe, and it's a nice suit that has the head of a German Shepherd.
Mm,
So you have the hands of a human, so you're not full furry. You're just
mm,
wearing like it's like you're robbing a bank essentially.
right.
So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna wear this for the rest of this game. What little I have left in it, and
And
it was ridiculous.
you heard it here. You heard it here, people. Joe admitted he could be his true self finally in that furry costume.
I mean, they do have a convention here in Chicago. I can't remember. Like, I remember it came up on one of those weird fact things where it's like a handful of years ago. Apparently, there was a gas leak or something like that, and so they had to evacuate the hotel. So you had all these people in costumes coming out. I'm like, but apparently it was like the fall or something, or it was like winter. Like, well, of all the times to have to be standing outside your hotel, you're at least that's the one time you're in costume, opposed to like the dead of summer where it's like 90 something degrees out and you're just dying of heat.
Yeah.
So
Oh man, that would be horrible. But
yeah, anyway, so yeah, Mafia completely finished that up. I enjoyed it a lot. Once again, it was also pretty. One thing that I didn't realize is once you get past like I think it's chapter 3 or 4, you can just go to chapter select, and then there's the free roaming section right there.
mm,
So there's a handful of artifacts per mission that you have to collect, and they're only available in those missions. But outside of that, everything else is available in free roam, and that is literally, I think, the top option when you go to chapter select. So you could just click on that anytime and enjoy driving around. And I really did enjoy just checking out the scenery, going to places where like I barely, due to the game, you don't actually get to see everywhere on the map. So I'm like, oh, I didn't even know this area existed because I didn't really have to wander. Like, there's a lake up in the northern, like the northeast side of the map, and
mm.
I think you really just don't really go by it that often, or if at all, like maybe once. So yeah, it's getting to explore. I haven't, there's some salt flats, or like next to Leo's, like the dock area where he's from. There's a couple like old like big windmills, and they just have piles of salt and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, that's weird. Never knew this existed.
Yeah, yeah. I don't
It's
remember seeing that in the game.
yeah, so it's just one of those things that's like a shame. It's almost a shame the way the game was structured, just because you didn't get to see everything, and it really was. It kind of felt like it encouraged you just to go from point A to point B and not really explore too much. So I don't know, getting to collect everything let me see more of it and appreciate more of the game that way. All right, well, let's get to what the new thing that we've been playing. Uh, all right, I'll let you kick off. We're playing Sword of the Sea. So
Yeah. So yeah, I've only played about an hour, maybe a little bit more of this. I think I got through the second. I'll call it the second area, um, and uh, and it's so I decided to move on from it because I kind of some other things to do, but honestly I was getting a little bit bored. Um, so this game is, for anybody that hasn't really seen too much about it, it's from the makers of Journey and Abzu, and they have another game out there. Right? I think they have a couple more.
the Pathless was the other game, and
Pathless,
this is Giant Squid.
Giant Squid,
Um,
yeah. Yeah, so this is from that same team. So I don't remember what the Pathless was really like, but the other two games, Journey and Abzu, from what I played Journey, and from what I understand about Abzu, it's kind of like it's not really a walking simulator, but it's like you're just going through a short game world. It's very beautiful, and it has like some kind of story that it's kind of trying to tell you, but it's not like really in depth or anything like that. Well, this game is kind of like that for me so far. Um, there's not been any voice acting. There's been a little bit of story here and there, but basically you're a kind of a magical looking chic kind of guy um, that rides a sword, a lot like a long sword that's ornately decorated, like it's a surfboard essentially. But you're riding it through a desert, and then you're basically, how else to put this? You're turning the water back on in some of these environments, at least at the beginning, which is like the most deserty area. And then second area, you're kind of, it's a little bit less deserty, but it's still, you're still kind of doing some of that same stuff. And there's not that there's, I wouldn't really call them puzzles. They are kind of puzzly, but it's sort of like you just sort of explore around until you find the thing. Like basically, you find, metaphorically speaking, you find the hole to put the key in, essentially. Um, and and yeah, so it's so it is like a simple game, at least so far. And from what I understand about these games, it's probably going to stay that way. But it's very pretty, and it does feel good to play. Like it feels pretty smooth. I did have some issues. Well, I don't want to say issues. I don't know how much I agreed with the ability of the sword to kind of just stop. Like I kind of was trying to think of it like a surfboard or like a skateboard, but it's a little bit, and it is a lot like that, but it's like if a surfboard was also a car and had brakes where you could just go, okay, I'm just going to stop right, like right here. Um, and so kind of getting used to that was like, it just was a little bit weird in my brain, but, but it does give you more control over it. So once I kind of learned about that, I was like, okay, this maybe I have more control. I just have to remember that I can just do things this way if I want. But yeah, like it is a really beautiful game, and it is it's the point of it from the game makers seem to be trying to get across is like we want this to be like a pleasant experience. So we're going to make things easier so that they just feel better, because there's some certain like jumps and stuff that you can do where like you're like, it's like, well, it's very forgiving. Like you try to jump over this thing and it sort of lets you kind of just go. Or there's a part where I was like a dolphin, or I was kind of riding a dolphin but controlling it, and you like bounce on the like hard surfaces. You can jump on the hard surfaces and you sort of just bounce. And so it's not like there's not really much of a fail state. I did fall into a pit one time and it just kind of blooped me out of that, like kind of like I didn't fall in it. Um, but yeah, so that's sort of the depth that I've played to so far, and it's like I figured this game really wouldn't be something that I would really like a lot. I don't dislike it, but it's not something that I feel compelled to finish or anything like that. But so I'm glad it's on PlayStation Plus. Um, so because it's th- that's about the level of interest that I have in it. But if you have played those old games and you haven't gotten to this one yet, or you're introducing games to somebody that doesn't like, this would be a great game for like grandma, kind of, where it's just like just kind of go around, or for like a kid or something like that, or if you just want a nice chill time. But yeah, that was sort of my experience with it so far.
All right. So this game is roughly how long to beat. States it at main game plus sides is about 3.5, and then for completionist is about 6. So I'm standing about 5.5 hours in, and I can tell that I'm pretty close to the end. I'm not sure if I have like an extra zone or two, but as far as these games go, uh, I think the worst thing that I could say about this game is it came out after Journey, because unfortunately
Mm.
Journey did things so well, and it set such a high benchmark and a precedence where, uh, yeah, Journey is most definitely like an experience more than a game, and it's very much the early PS3 era where I'm pretty sure the developer also, I don't think it was Giant Squid, but I think the creator of this, was also part
Mm,
of Flower, and there was one other game that
yes.
came out around the same time. And I'm dropping. I can't. But this is when the debate where are video games art, was really coming into fruition. Um,
Okay.
and Journey, it's one of those things that depends on how you look at it and how you define it. But at the same time, it's Journey was most definitely a unique experience, and everyone experienced that game differently. It depends if you came in knowing anything at all. How many, my experience with Journey was pretty amazing. I actually really loved that experience. So coming into this after, and remembering Journey, there's a lot of callbacks to it. Um, I mentioned before that some of the other games that Giant Squidward made. There was we just had said that was that Pathless.
Right.
The I'm sorry. I'm trying to like that was the one like I think neither of us played. 'Cause Abzu I think became free on PlayStation Plus for everybody at one point, and I'm trying to remember. The Pathless was an archery based like kind of fast flowing. I just remember there was a lot of sliding involved,
Mm.
and just you're shooting your bow and arrow. So it just seems like they kind of taken a lot of key points to everything. You got the aqua life from Abzu. You have the desert scape and stuff from Journey. Um, you have a little bit more fast paced motion and a little more open world exploration from the Pathless. So they kind of just combined it all to make Sword of the Sea.
It's kind of
Um,
like they're growing a little bit, a little tiny bit at a time, where they're like, we're
I
going to make the same game, but we're going to add like one tiny little element to it.
see. I feel like they have a cinematic universe in their head that the rest of us don't realize what it is.
Mm,
But I feel like it's something like that. They're building upon their own world. Now, yes, the in this case, the sword that so your character is pretty much a terracotta warrior
mm.
for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, I was
You're a
thinking
statue
that.
that wakes up, and which makes sense because the sword you're using is a I'm going to pronounce it incorrectly, but it's that Chinese sword like like Jian or
Mm.
Jian, which is that straight sword that you'd see if you remember, like if you've seen any uh, old Chinese martial arts films,
It usually has a
and
design on the flat part of the blade.
it's usually a double sided blade,
Mm,
meant for bending, like more flexibility. The There is already a ton of like entertainment out there where they use the swords as flight vehicles. So I mean, whether it's anime movies, stuff like that, it's not the first time people have used the sword to be ridden on. So that part wasn't as surprising for me as it might have been for you. And you do kind of experience it like a surfboard, but at the same time, it's very much a skateboard because you can do tricks. You unlock the ability uh, to do tail grabs, and you even have like half pipes and stuff like that that you can a random spot in the middle of nowhere where you can just get a high score and just do tricks on it. And I'm
mhm.
like, okay, so this is just a skateboard, and that so stopping and stuff like that felt more natural to me because I'm like, okay, that makes perfect sense.
So on a
Um,
skateboard, when you're really going fast, you can't just stop. So like on this in this game, can you're going really fast and you can just and so I don't know. Like I was trying to like go around things like and turn because I was like, well, it probably doesn't want me to just stop and then turn my blinker on and turn left, you know? So once I kind of like did that a couple times and it was like awkward, I was like, I'm gonna just stop. Oh, I can just stop, you know? But yeah, it's an ease of using. That's what they're going for is to make the game easy.
I felt zero issues with the momentum in that game. The only like later on when you go up a hill or something like that, sometimes you can't necessarily stop depending on how you land. You might start rolling back, and then it'll take you a little bit extra effort to actually stop itself. But yeah, you're. I'm not really sure what kind of problems you had with that. I actually
It's not a problem. It's that it's not like it's a problem other than there's there's not really enough game play to it. It's just, oh, it's like it's like kind of like opening a document or like opening a door or something like that. It's like, well, there's something I have to do, but it's not really gamified the way that I kind of was expecting. And I kind of like, okay, yeah, this is just the way that they make games. That they're not making this to be a game. They're making this to be like an experience game.
Yeah. Once again, like I said, I had zero issues with the actual movement of the skateboard, the sword itself, and it's one of the things I'd say that grew on me over time, because it took a little while for me to get to like the music. But as you're getting through the more levels you're going through, I found the music does get better. It makes probably one of the best uses of the dual sense controller,
Mm.
where depending on the surface that you're riding on, the controller will make different tactile noises and different vibrations to give you the correct feedback. If you're on smooth sand, if you're on water, if you're on coarse gravel, it changes all of it. If you're grinding on a chain link, like literally a giant chain, it makes all the right tinks and vibrations. It's
It was on the tiled roof there. I was like, I mean, I'd kind of gotten that, the sand and the rocks and stuff like that. But then when I was on the tiled roof, I was like, what in the world? Wow, that's a really accurate tiled roof sound of me like kind of grinding across it. And I was like, dang, this is, I mean, Death Stranding and some other games had some pretty good use of it. But yeah, they really kind of went out of their way to make the experience come through those little tiny speakers on that controller just right.
Yeah, and that's the thing is because the quality of the speakers are real trash. So just to make these right sound effects and then to double it up with the right haptic feedback really does add to the experience for sure. The I think one of my favorite things about this game though is it rewards exploration in such a weird way where one of the early spots I went to the edge of the map and there's just this little path. It's like a pier, just a little walkway that goes out into the middle of nowhere. You look down there and you're like, "There's another spot just floating there." Like, but there's no way I can get back up. And so I'm like, I'm just going to go for it, jump down. And then they're like, "Oh, there's another spot I can kind of jump to. All right, let me just drop down again." And then I was like, "Okay, cool. I was rewarded. It gave me a thing." And then there was a there's a little portal, a little like think of the Mario warp pipe where you will get sucked into it and then it brings you right back to the beginning. I'm like, okay, great, I did that. Then I'm like, but wait, there's something else down there. I drop, and then I'm like, there is a few statues just like kind of appearing from the mist way out in the distance. I'm like, I think I can make that one statue. And then sure enough, I launched, made my way there, landed on it. I'm like, hey, and there's something else waiting for me here. I'm like, that's pretty great. There's a bunch of times where I've explored the outside of a building. And I'm like, okay, and I climb to this one spot, and yeah, sure enough, there's something right there. And then I pan the camera around. I'm like, oh, wait, there's something else possibly out there. If I hug this corner, this wall, and I'm just going, if I just went ahead and explored, and sure enough, there's something else waiting for you. And then I'm like, okay, or like I'm gonna just see if I can climb to the top of this building just because I'm like, there must be something here, right? And you climb and sure enough, there is something there. From there, you're like, okay, and there's a bunch of stuff scattered about. So they have just littered everything. It's like I thought I searched everywhere, but apparently there's the first couple of maps. They have like certain collectibles. One of them is a kind of like a shell. Yeah, I it's a spiral like seashell and I thought I collected all of them the first map. Apparently I didn't because by the third map, I got a trophy for collecting them all in that area. And I'm like, oh, well, that's great. I didn't get one for the last two levels, and I thought I was really thorough. So they really do have things hidden in a lot of spots. Yeah. So for someone like me who likes to go around and do that stuff, it is really kind of entertaining. The problem is that as the new stages come up, they get bigger and bigger, and it becomes more difficult to kind of map where you've been because you're like, all right, one of the later ones where you're in like a mountainous ice area, and you kind of have this free range. There's three. You have to set off three triggers because every map has one or two or three triggers you have to set to open a gate, continue to the next spot. Uh, and I'm like, okay, so there's three triggers in this section. That's fine, but there's a large hill surface. There's a bunch of little hills. Like it's a you might as well be at a ski resort or something like that, or like a major peak because you have a bunch of spots here. You have a bunch of jumping paths, bunch of other weird things to do, and there's spots as far as you can to see to the left and to the right. And so by the time you made it to the exit, I turned around. And I'm like, all right, where did I originally come in from? And I'm like, I can see the three trigger points that I've hit, but I'm like, there's just a tiny spot way in the distance where like, okay, that is where I entered this map from, and I know for sure I didn't hit everything here. But I was really methodical. And I really did try hitting it all. But it was just at that point, I'm like, well, I'm betting. Like I said, I'm close to the end of the game. I'm willing to bet that they're going to let you replay the game like a new game plus mode
Mhm.
with your stuff previous unlocked. At least that's what I'm hoping, because that would make exploring the previous areas that you've done more enjoyable, and it gives you more of that replayability just to enter that world again. Because one of the early spots in the game was like there's a platform, there's a high road that you cannot get to. You cannot jump up there, and I'm like, I feel like you should be able to get up there, but I look around like I don't know how I'm supposed to do that. And as I've unlocked multiple abilities, because you collect triangle shards and you give them to a peddler, and then they unlock new abilities for you, new tricks. Because at first that's what a couple of things they do. Um, and other than for some trophies and then some little side objectives, the tricks really are there just to have fun with. Like, you find these special areas. Like there's uh this is where like it feels like Tony Hawk. It's like, okay, you have to hit a 10,000 score within like 30 seconds to a minute or something like that. And I'm like, you could do the proper way, grinding and jumping from one thing to the other while doing a bunch of tricks. Or like I remember Tony Hawk Underground, I would just I wouldn't even skate. I would just stand on the one spot and just do a bunch of tricks on on the skateboard, just switching it up, but like all the manuals essentially. And I would just do all these standing still and chaining all my things together to get a higher multiplayer. And that's pretty much what it is. I found a spot where I can constantly like bounce or like be airborne, do a bunch of tricks, and then get back up in the air again immediately, do a bunch of tricks, and just constantly just do that in a minimal space needed. And I think the one spot, like, you need 10,000 points, and I scored like 330,000 points.
Nice.
And I was like, I had like a 50 times multiplier or something ridiculous. And I'm like, yep, all right, this most definitely feels like Tony Hawk to me, uh, in all the good ways.
Mhm.
But it's a silly little game. I mean, you don't even have to engage with that because there's a trophy for it that looking at, like, beat the game within 2 hours. So the game is really short.
Mhm.
If you just mainline it, just hit the key things to unlock the next section, you can most definitely do that.
Okay.
It's meant to be kind of just it's most definitely just a chill and unwind type of thing. It does if figures, the way I look at this game is it lets you collect, it lets you explore. It has zero risk to it because yeah, there is no fail state. At least not that I've seen. I've jumped off edges just because I'm like, I'm going to explore to see if there's like if I can fall down to this ledge, and you just fade out like an old Nintendo 64 game or like an old Mario game, and they just like plop you back up where you were. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So it really is not meant to be anxiety driven. It's the most like lo-fi, chill, relaxed game you can have. Just if anything else, you just listen to the music or throw on a podcast, and it's just about the exploration and about the key visuals, and then challenging yourself is pretty much like that snow and ice area has a bunch of statues of like pretty tall up statues, and I realized on most of them they have little square patches where it gives you extra triangle currency. Well, you can't just jump up there. You later on get a boost ability, and so you have to hit like a hill or slope, boost up, and jump at the right time to try to get your elevation high. And it's not just a simple like this is the easy ramp. It's like no, I'm coming at it from a weird angle, and like it takes you a couple tries because maybe you'll whiff it or maybe you'll just be off center just enough. And when you do hit it, it's just like, yeah, I did it. You kind of pat yourself on the back because it was. It kind of seems like it's not meant to be. You're not meant to do it, but obviously you are because they reward you for it. And like, okay, that's nice that they're rewarding you for doing like the stupid stuff you would try normally. Just like I bet I like it's it's one of those things. I wonder if you could do that. And if you tried and failed a couple of times, like, oh, you must not be able to do that. But because they have a reward there waiting for you, I'm like, okay, they have a reward. So that means you have to be able to do this. And so you're like, I'm going to do it just to prove that I can.
Mhm.
Uh once yeah, all in all, the game isn't like this giant masterpiece. But it is really, for me, I think it's really enjoyable if you just want something that's not the run of the mill and it's just most definitely something to unwind from. I think coming into this, especially after doing the collecting from Mafia and just doing the trophy mop up from that, I'm like, all right, I was enjoying just watching the scenery, but there's no like radio station or anything like that in that game, and so I was enjoying just taking in what the game had to offer. This looking at it, I'm like, it's once again the only takeaway from it, like or like the negative would be looking at this and being like, I feel like it's supposed to be heavily inspired by Journey, heavily inspired by Abzu. So like I'm seeing all these things. I'm like, this feels like it's supposed to be a direct nod to a previous game because you see like the red scarves hanging from like uh statues or tombstones, and you're like or pillars, and you're like, okay, that's a Journey reference. And the Journey just did so many things so well, and that soundtrack was really good from the start to finish. I feel like when you're playing the game, it really sets you in motion. It's a little harder to curate with this because Journey was very much, they had only a few spots that were minorly explorable, but everything else was pretty linear. And this is, explorable from the beginning. So you can't really control that music as well. Later on, as you're playing, uh, like later on you get to ride a shark. Um, and like, then that was pretty funny. I enjoyed that. The music and the stuff that we're playing with that started to like, yeah, I'm like, this is really nice. I'm really enjoying this now. But I did feel like it had a slower start in that game. So they should almost have made it a little more linear in the beginning and then kind of opened it up as it went on. Yeah, that was, but as all said and done, I'm almost finished with it. I'm probably I'll beat it, but then depending on how they do it, I hope they do a new game plus where it lets you have all of your previous upgrades. I know that with Journey, I'm trying to remember now. They did two things. One was if you replayed the game again, your scarf got a segment longer.
Yeah.
And so if you replayed it like I think four times,
Mm.
you had the longest length you needed. And then if you collected all of a certain thing, that is what changed your color from red to white. Um, because I didn't notice any like that game had a weird multiplayer thing in it. Um, which if you came in blind, not knowing, and depending on how your interactions were, that would color how you played the game.
Mm.
So I found, this is just in my brain, it's constantly living in the shadow of Journey because Journey was just such a great game for me. And so therefore I'm like looking at this and I'm like, yeah, I do like the flow of the game. I do like the speed of this game. They're doing that and it does look visually, this is the next step up. But at the same time, it's just like I think I almost like Journey better only because it was so minimalist. And like I said, they curated that experience a lot more because there's not a whole lot more you can, it's like that was meant to be point A to point B, very little spots in between. Um, and my interaction with the other people was minimal. But when I did have interactions, it was really neat, and I wasn't sure what I was dealing with at the time. So it really made it a fun experience. So I don't know. I think this isn't as good as Journey, but is really close behind. I won't have a number for it yet, but I still think most definitely if you have PlayStation Plus Extra or Premium,
Mm.
uh, that's available there. This is also available on Steam, so That's I think that's the only platforms it's on is Windows, PC, and um,
PlayStation.
PlayStation 5. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, yeah, it is kind of does suffer from the like it's like Journey, but there's Journey is a weird game because there's very few games where you can really only step in that river once. I mean, technically every game is that way, but you have, Metroid and Super Metroid and you have different Final Fantasies and it's like, man, that was so great. And there's like Final Fantasy 7 basically stands above, the original, stands above really all the others. You could argue 6, but in a lot of ways you can't because 7 was like a step into 3D and all that stuff. Um, but even games like that, 8 was good and was very similar to 7, and 9 was really good, and those are people's favorites. Journey, I think, is maybe more than any other game I can think of off the top of my head, is very much like you did it once and you can't really ever get that kind of experience back again. The Halos, Halo 1 was amazing. Halo 2 was like, it did kind of get some of that fire again. 3 as well. I'm trying to think of another game where it was like, okay, they made one and then they made another and it just never recaptured the level. I think it's just because it was so novel. It was just so new at the time, you know?
Yeah, and that's one of those things that you know Journey, like I said, was one of those games where like, well, it's the closest thing you have to, like that's like I said around that time I was like, well, PS3 era, and you're like, well, this is quote unquote art question mark. I mean, between the visuals and the experience and what you walk away from and what you different people got different meanings from it. Uh, I looked at some of the background, the runes and the uh what was scrolled on the walls of that game and being like, okay, this is a history of the events. While I actually had my, you were mentioning like, Sword of the Sea being like, this is good for your mom to play. I actually had my father-in-law play Journey,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, yeah, check this game out, because this is pretty. This they hadn't played anything in the current generation of stuff, so uh they looked at it as, oh, this is like a premonition. This is supposed to be like prophetic, it's supposed to be a prophecy coming up. And I'm like, huh, I didn't think of it that way. I looked at it as this is the past. This is all their stuff. So they took away very much different. I'm like, but at the same time, by the time you ended, I'm like, oh, it kind of played both ways. Um, but also uh when my spouse played Journey, they had someone else follow, like, happen to be there the entire time with them, which kind of took away some of that mystique. While for me, I only had some people in the beginning, then they disappeared. Then there was a highly active place where, like, there was the one of the only times you have like a threat looming, and then there was a couple of people there, and I'm like, I didn't know what how that multiplayer system worked. So in my brain, I'm like, are these supposed to be like key trigger events where you see other beings like yourself, because at my point it was like it was in the very beginning, it's at this danger zone,
Mm-hmm.
and then I found someone at the very end where we started crawling together at a slow pace, and it was more of an encouraging um bit because all you can do is blink at each other essentially, like send out the same wave of light and noise that you do in Sword of the Sea, like this little bubble. And so we're bubbling at each other as we're kind of encouraging as we're slowly falling down in the snow. It's just like, and that was a really neat experience being like we're trying to like, and we're trudging and we're going. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't until afterwards I'm like, "Oh, yeah. Okay, so that was an actual legit other person, but it was just perfectly timed for me." Um, and so it's like, yeah, it was once again, it was just that was such a peak, uh, in this, genre, and then you have this where it's more gamey, it's more fun, it's more free flowing, it's meant to be, like I said, you have these tricks you can do that just for the heck of it, um, you have and then you unlock more tricks, like, okay, that's cool. Uh, I'm just gonna do a nose grab, hit this jump and do a nose grab just because I can,
Mm.
and then I'm gonna spin, stuff like that. So it's silly. They change it up by like, yeah, I'm gonna ride a dolphin at one point. Okay, I'm like, yeah, the dolphin bounces off hard surfaces, but it also rides through the sand, so it doesn't really matter. It's just like it's just meant to be game. Um, so
Yeah.
once again, I'm kind of curious to do the speed run. I would like to see just to do it under 2 hours. So I'm probably gonna do that. I'm not sure if I'm gonna actually, unless there's a really good tutorial guide. I don't think I'm gonna ever get this like 100%ed. Um, but it is short enough that it's like, well, if I have some time to kill, but like I said, the music, Journey had music where it was like instantly from start to finish, almost all really solid, really great. The music only grew on me in this game the further in I went. The more I experienced, I'm like, yeah, this is nice, this is good. I'm really clicking with this at this point. Um, but once again, it's like they've done so many neat things with this, with the dual sense controller, the vibrations, the surfaces, like, and you said that the clay tiling on rooftops, hearing the like the clacking as you're going across. I'm like, that's super fun, satisfying to hear. Later on, you hit ice and snow. Like I said, anytime you hit gravel, so they really have grown as a team. I kind of want them. I want to see them do the pathless. Once again, I don't know exactly much about that, so maybe that was more of a full length game. Uh, but I'm kind of curious to see them take on a big thing, not just like an experience.
Yeah.
So, all right, now you have you finally completed a big one. Yeah, long awaited. Your final thoughts on Death Stranding 2?
So I beat Death Stranding 2, saw credits on it. 56 hours, 26 minutes, and almost like 53 seconds or something like that. So I got to about the 40-hour mark, kind of piddling around. You had to make some progress, but do a lot of extra stuff. And about that 40-hour mark, 41 hours, I was like, all right, it's time to go to the end. So I was probably a little ways past halfway when I started to jet for the end, and and I guess that's probably why it felt like the end. It felt long because I basically did those 15 hours over 2 days, um, and yeah, so so yeah, it just I sat down, I had some stuff to do on Sunday. I sat down at 3 o'clock, and I was like, okay, probably we could probably get this thing done. It seems like it probably have about 4 hours left. So I went through and got a little bit close, to where I thought it was kind of close. About 6 o'clock, I was like, all right, I'm gonna grab some dinner. I ate for 30 minutes and then sat back down and then kept going. And it just kept being so close to ending. And that it was finally 11 o'clock at night whenever I finally beat it. But at like 9:30, 10:30, I was like, please end, please just end, because I really just wanted to get it. I wanted to get it beat, and I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to. Um, if you think that this game is a 10, then I would like you to explain some cutscenes to me. So I'm going to be getting into some spoilers now. Uh, so there, so the Matrix Reloaded. You know the part at the end of that when Neo is like going through smashing stuff up, and then he walks into the room, and then there's the architect, and they ruin the movie by explaining everything. Basically, they do the midichlorians thing where they just info dump a bunch of stuff on you. Well, they do that in this game too. Not quite as bad because there's like stuff that like foreshadows it, but it's not. But like they still have like a guy come out, basically the guy who's the new president. So the old president is gone away somewhere, and then the new president I'm like, well, he definitely seems like a bad guy. He comes out and he's like, I'm a bad guy. And here's the whole reason that you've been doing everything that we've been tricking you into doing. And I was like, okay. And I immediately just thought of the architect from the Matrix. And I was like, okay, this sucks. And then they do like a little, so they do like a little pull and they do some other stuff and they reintroduce some characters from the old game. And there's just, so Die Hard Man, Die Hardman. So he has been absent from the game, but he's really been there the whole time because the dummy that was using his voice, but was just not really him, but was just using his voice. Guess what? It actually is him. That actually is Die Hardman. And the way that he reveals himself is where he's wearing like these spandex pants and no shirt. And he comes out and dances for a little while. And yeah, so that would be the scene that I'd want people to explain to me if they think this game is a 10, because that by itself, like that by itself keeps it out of the 10 zone for me. Um,
Or
so,
like a 9.8, 9.9.
so it's like a 9. No, no, no. So I think, I can kind of stop there with that. Yeah. So I could be talked into this game being considered a 9. Um, Not for me personally. It's just that I would stop screaming at you if you settled on a 9. A 9.5. There's probably a bit of a case to be made for a 9.5. I got to be honest, because I did watch Video Game Donkey's video on it, and he played through a lot of it, and he showed some of the stuff, and I was like, okay, yeah, there's some pretty fun, silly stuff. I think that the Die Hardman dance sequence, it just kind of mocks the game because it's like right there at the end when you want things to be like serious and like for real, and that part, the dance part, just kind of just kind of like spits in your face, and then him just being there at all just sort of is like, well, we're just kind of like, I mean, I guess if you played the first one, it would feel like a kind of a homecoming sort of thing.
I
Um,
say huge reveal, man. It's just you're supposed to be wowed and flabbergasted because how deep and like pure that first game was, right?
so deep and pure. So I think an 8.5. I could. I would just begrudgingly be like, okay, well, let's end the conversation. If you said this game was an 8.5, but to me, this game's an 8. I think that the story is good enough that it gets there. I think that the silliness at the end and sort of the excessiveness of the story, which was very much there in the first one, from what I hear, kind of kind of destroys it from being a 9.5 and really even a 9. I think that this game, as I've said before, is technically is very, very, very good. It's and an 8 is a great game to me. Maybe maybe you could say 8.5 is a great game, but to me this is a really a really great game. It feels good to play. It's very hard to put down. You don't want to put it down. It's just like a one more thing type of game. The acting is is, I don't want to say it's superb, but it's good. It's everyone who's doing their job and doing it well. I think that the combat is awkward. I think that in parts it's too easy. Maybe there's harder difficulties. I'm sure there's harder difficulties that would make it better or whatever. But I think parts of it are kind of too easy. I think the BT stuff, where you're driving along and you get into a BT zone, and it just stops what you're doing, and for like 5 full seconds, and it goes, "Hey, you're in a BT zone. You're in a BT zone." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't care. Like, let me keep driving and let something attack me." But it just like stops what you're doing, especially when you're driving uphill and you get into a BT zone, like at the just before the crest of the hill, and you're driving, so uh, it doesn't put the brake on. It just stops the vehicle and basically freezes the controls, locks you out of the controls for 5 seconds. So you roll back down the hill, slam into a rock, and destroy all of the goods that you're trying to carry. Um, that made me want to throw my controller across the room, but I didn't because I have a lot of self control. Um, so yeah, like it's it's a it's a game it's really
The more you talk, the more I feel like you're actually your score is low, getting lower and lower based off the facial expression and how much you. I think you're just trying to not get everyone angry by giving it a lower score, and
no, because
just on visuals alone, you're like visuals and graphics are carrying this whole thing.
no, because I mean, like the graphics are great, the visuals are great, the photo mode should be better. Also, that was a thing that I forgot to bring up about Mafia: The Old Country is there wasn't a photo mode, which is becoming very important to me. Um, it was well enough, but the photo mode in Death Stranding 2 should be better. Um, that like yeah, graphics are great and all that stuff, blah 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 blah. But like the technical way the game feels and the way the gameplay like actually is really really good. It's a game that with a couple, you know, I mean, with a couple notes from Konami would be a better game. I'm sorry, but like somebody needs to step in and go, that's stupid. We're not doing that. What do you mean? It's my story. No, it's we're all trying to make this game, and you wrote a good story, and that's the thing. There's a lot of really cool, good, stupid, but good still ideas like the BT stuff, the beach stuff. It's overplayed and it's ridiculous, but it's it's heartfelt and it's sincere in a lot of ways until it becomes just like ridiculous and kind of nihilistic in a weird way. And that's the thing is like Yoko Taro does the nihilistic thing. He has like the dance sequence at the end of like one of his games and stuff like that. Which I haven't played Draken Card 3, but famously it ends that way. I think there was like a time and place for that, and I'll have to judge that game when I get to it. With the near stuff though, like he had wackiness, but he knew that like at the end of the game, it's like okay, it's time to stop being wacky. It's time to um, like bring it home and bring it home right. And I feel like Kojima kind of does the opposite of that. So it is one of those things where it's like, man, this guy is just a technical genius. He knows how to get stuff done. I didn't play the Phantom Pain, but that was kind of a thing that Video Game Donkey pointed out is like a lot of this game is just they're far enough away legally from the Phantom Pain now that they can just kind of make the Phantom Pain over again and just put it in like in this game. Um, yeah, so it is the floor for this is like an 8. An 8.5 is too high. I think like on a 100-point scale, it's like an 8.3. You know, if I really had to just kind of get in there, maybe like an 8.2. But yeah, so I feel like everybody that played, I feel like all the people that I heard talk about play Death Stranding 1. Like, because I was going through this game, I was like, okay, they fixed the problems with Death Stranding 1. And then I get through the end of it and I'm like, no, no, they didn't. Um, I don't know what Kojima's going to make next, but I will probably not finish it. And I hope that I don't play it. I got to be honest. I hope I don't play it. Okay, that's it.
So yeah, there's no way that if you come out with that, I just can't believe that you're saying it's an 8.3. Be like, yeah, it's great. I just don't want to I don't want to play the
But
next thing you
Joe,
make.
it's technically so good. It's so sound. There's just like it's right. I mean, this game you can breeze through because I have a hard time sticking with games. I mean, but this game you can breeze through 30 hours, I think, pretty easily. It's got just enough gameplay and just enough like loop to kind of keep you going and be like, yeah, yeah. And you don't want to put it down, but they just save all of the junk. I'm sorry. There's another scene, and like the Die Hardman scene is probably like the worst thing, but really the actual final boss battle, the final boss battle is stupid too. It kind of wins you over a little bit, but it's stupid. I'll tell you about it like off the podcast because I don't want to ruin quite. I don't want to do that, at least not yet. But yeah, that is kind of why it is like a hard. I'm mad because this game should be a 9.5. That's why I am mad because it should be a 9.5 and it's a full point, really more rounded to like an 8 to me, and that's the awful facts of it to me.
All right. Well, I'll play this if you go ahead. You go back and you play the first Death Stranding, because I put a lot
I
of time in Death Stranding, and that game was technically great. The things they did visuals and all that stuff, and like graphic wise, but I'm like the game sucked ass in so many levels. I just it broke me for Kojima's bullshit. I was just like, I actually liked Metal Gear Solid 5 for what it was worth. The story wasn't as flushed out, yes, but that was entertaining gameplay. That was the thing. It was the beat by beat, the actual controlling, and the stupid stuff you can do. Um, it was fun. It was a fun game to play. Then you went to Death Stranding, and Death Stranding was not fun to play. Not in my mind. It was just like, yes, if you want to do the road building simulator, and like that bit, I mean, it was fun to see how high you can stack stuff up and in what way to keep your balance just right. And that was like, that's a fun mini game, not a full-fledged game. That is something that you don't make a full game out of. Like, all right, let me do stupid stuff like launch my packages forward or build different like, that's awesome if I'm back in like middle school and I just,
Yeah.
I don't, that's back when the days of let's go play Grand Theft Auto, get 5-star police rating, and let's see how long we can last. And let's just do that for an entire evening. Oh wait, let's do that for an entire week because we're dumb and you're young and we have all the time in the world.
Mm.
Um that's the time, like I felt that Death Stranding just did not respect your time as a player, and the story was just stupid. It was not in, and like it visually looked great, and like, but it was just, it's very much if I want a good looking story that's stupid, I'd play you know Detroit, or like
Mm.
Beyond Two Souls or something like that. One of I forget his name, Dave Cage, one of his games,
Yeah.
because they look great and they're stupid as hell too. So it's, but that game you can have better fun with because you're like, all right, I'm not going to hit any quick time events, and let me see my character completely fumble my way to success,
Mm.
because that's exactly what happened in Beyond Two Souls. You can let your character stumble through the woods, hit every darn tree, trip over every branch and rock, and somehow you still make it out, but you just look very special needs is the best way to put it. Like zero
Yeah.
self-aware, self-preservation. But the game just auto plays you to the end because your choice really doesn't matter in the end of that, except for a couple of key things.
I will say
Uh,
the music in Death Stranding 2 is very good. I think the way they implement it is probably something that could be a little bit better. Like you can play the radio, but you have to like earn songs, which I'm kind of like, okay. So most of the time, so I play the radio for a while and then I'd be like, okay, I've heard these songs like too many times and I just drive in silence and stuff like that. And that wasn't too bad, but I mean like just to like listen to the soundtrack is definitely like, okay, these songs are all pretty good. They're not something that I have to like save on a Spotify or whatever, but some of them might be like, yeah, I probably will if I think of it later. So yeah, you don't have to play it. I think you should for like an hour or two. um, to see how it's changed. But yeah, it's a game. It's definitely a
I don't know,
game.
maybe it's an every other game Kojima thing because I liked Metal Gear Solid. I was not a big fan of 2, or at least the characters of 2, like everyone else was. 3 was great. 4
Well,
kind of lost
I
me,
will say
and then
that like without having
I played
played
5,
like
so
what,
I did not like Death Stranding, so maybe Death Stranding 2 is for me,
yeah,
every other game.
I mean like Death Stranding one sounds awful because I'm almost positive Death Stranding one is worse than this, but like I saw a Video Games Chronicle give this like 5 stars. I don't think this is a 5 star game. I mean they have to make money, I guess, so they're going to give it 5 stars, and they probably put their Kojima guy on it who's been playing Kojima games since he was like a toddler. But yeah,
Alright. Well, I'm glad you finished it, and,
I'm
it's
not.
like, hey,
I'm just joking. Yeah, I'm glad I finished it too.
I mean, it's we can just by that alone, we know that it's better. This is better than Tears of a Kingdom because you still have yet to finish that.
Well,
So
yeah, if this game had been, I think this game really is probably better at about 70 hours. I think that would have been, that's what I kind of should have done, is not rush the last 15. Is I should have like the last half of the game should have maybe moseyed along a little bit quicker, but otherwise, kind of let it do what it was leading me to do. Yeah.
all right. Well, why don't you get to something that matters, like the news?
Okay. That sounds good. So the news. So not a lot of crazy good news, but nothing. But it
Oh,
wasn't.
I'm sorry. The new Kojima thing is what is it? Science or something like that? That's supposed to be his new. So you were just remembering that you're afraid to play it. It's actually something that I'm more interested in because I just didn't like Death Stranding, but it's supposed to go back to his um like these like espionage roots, so more Metal Gear, but not Metal Gear. Uh, they announced it back with Phil Spencer, I think, about like them doing a whole film production. Um, like they did the whole reveal, pulled back, and it was outside a film studio, and it had his new title on the
Oh,
picture. So
yeah,
it's supposed to be more of a stealth, espionage action game. So it's essentially a spiritual successor to Metal Gear. So there you go.
yeah. What I figured we'd get back here. I mean, I figured that. So I'll jump to that part of the news. Kojima said he's not planning on making Death Stranding 3 anytime soon, but he does have a concept written. So, I think that I don't know what the sales of 2 are. I don't know how much they made off of it, but I mean, like, it is like built on the systems of the old game, and I think that that one sold pretty well. So, my guess is that he will be making Death Stranding 3, and I'm guessing that it will be sooner than maybe he wants to, because Sony is probably going to be like, why don't you go ahead and make Death Stranding 3 so we can all make some more money? And he'll be like, I like money. If there's a Death Stranding 3, I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to do it. You can play this back for me later, and I'm just play this back for me when Death Stranding 3 comes out. Nick, in the future, don't play Death Stranding 3.
I'll play this for you after you complete Death Stranding 3.
That'd be even better. That'd be even better. Okay. So anyway, yeah, I hope. I hope I have no hope. Okay. So the real news. Um, Return to Silent Hill movie trailer has been released. I watched it. It looks bad. Uh, that's my opinion. It looks bad. The reason it looks bad is because it looks like the old Silent Hill movie, which you can say whatever you want about the story or whatever, because there's a lot of parts of it that have holes and it doesn't make sense. But the look of that movie was really great, and like the vibe of it was really great. This Return to Silent Hill just looks like a guy standing in front of a green screen. um, and you can see everything. I finally watched a video on YouTube that explained why movies don't look like movies anymore, um, and it's because there's a lot of reasons, but basically part of it is because of digital cameras. But the other part is that uh, like when you are acting with a green screen background, you have to light everything flat because you're gonna put everything in, like the background is gonna be just like flat. So the fastest, easiest way to do it is just to make it flat, even light, and then the background is flat, even light. So basically, there's no contrast. Everything looks gray. This movie looks like that. I mean, it's a horror version of it, so there's like color that makes it look darker, but it's not really darker. Um, so yeah, thumbs down so far. I'll reserve final judgment until later, but yeah, that doesn't look good.
Have you ever seen the sequel, the second Silent Hill
I
film?
couldn't bring myself to. It looked pretty rough.
Yeah, you and me both. I actually liked the first one for what it was worth. I thought it was,
I thought it was great.
it's not. Yeah, it's like, I thought it was just. I thought it was good. It did the things. I'm like, hey, that's why when everyone made fun of Sean Bean in was it Game of Thrones? They're like, oh yeah, it's like, he only died in a handful of films, right? He's still alive in a lot of stuff. But it was just, he had that he's mostly because of Goldeneye and like one other movie. He's like,
His
oh, he
more
dies in it.
his more famous stuff, I would say, he dies in. But
I'm like,
yeah,
he doesn't. Yeah, like I said, other actors, more notorious for that. I'm like, it's like, I'm like, no, it was actually like, I remember because we made that joke back when Silent Hill was there. Like, oh yeah, he's totally dead, right? I was like, a slight spoiler. The twist was he was the only one who was alive. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, like not to talk about Silent Hill too much, but like, yeah, like I like that movie. There's definitely problems with the story and stuff like that, but like it gets the horror part and like the intro, like coming to Silent Hill and like the realization and stuff like that, and of course the world building. It gets all that stuff very very right, and for a long time it was high on the list, if not the top of the list of best video game movies of all time. Um, only
I
until
would say no. I would say it was never on that, never on the top. Was it good? Yes, it was a good video game adaptation thing.
I mean, I don't know of a game movie.
Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat was easily a better film. Uh, that's
No,
only because it's Enter the Dragon, but with, you know, uh, robotic Goro. You know,
um, no, I'm gonna not agree with that.
you could be wrong. It's okay, but like it's a no, without a doubt though. Silent Hill, especially for '06, it was easily one of the best game adaptations out there. When in a world where you had like these, the Tomb Raider movies, where Tomb Raider 1 was okay, Tomb Raider 2 was not. You had, to get just acceptable, like, and like just okay was a win. You had the first Hitman film. Was that the Timothy Oliphant one? Like that one was good. It wasn't great, it wasn't like groundbreaking, but this, and same with this one was good. Silent Hill, but it wasn't. uh we were so in a world of U-Bowl films where
oh
there was
god,
just complete and utter trash.
yeah,
uh just okay was a huge win for
yeah,
the video game
yeah,
community.
yeah. Okay, yeah. It was. I mean, it was a long time after '06. I don't know what I would consider to be the best video game movie of all time. I feel like I saw it fairly recently, though. I think it's been like since 2020. Um, dang it. I feel like anyway. I guess it wasn't that good because I'm not remembering it. But yeah. So Return to Silent Hill trailers out. Um, yeah. So next up, Xbox bringing cloud gaming to lower tiers and to PC. Is that what it said as well? Um, so
Yeah, and their PC Game Pass and the lower tier Game Passes. Yep.
And I think you were saying before the podcast that you thought that this was what kind of move?
I forget the exact word. I dissed it pretty hard. Do you remember the exact words I used?
You said this was
I
like a show of weakness or something like
There
that.
you go.
Okay.
That sounds like me. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't remember if I swore or not. That's why I was just like I
Mm,
wasn't 100% sure. Yes, most definitely sounds like a show. Looks like a show weakness because the fact is they're scraping. They're like, usually you load your features on the higher end. You try to do the Sony thing where you're like, okay, we are going to do our best to force your hand and everything we can to make you climb up the higher tiers. In this case, they're like, we need people to stay subscribed, full stop. So let's now leave put the things we had in higher tiers. Let's bump it down. Let's make it more for everybody, uh, because it is becoming more difficult for them as a industry. Like there is, you and I have spoken really good things about Game Pass, but unfortunately, the longevity of Game Pass, we are no longer subscribe to it. And I feel that that's how a lot of people are. It's like they only stay on for just a short time. Uh, the the fact that they try to nickel and dime you, they stop the whole year long subscription at a discount. They're like they want you to subscribe month by month. They actually make it more difficult. You have to go into menus to try to do a whole subscription. They don't just sell cards anymore like you used to be able to go to a store and buy a 1 month, 3 month, and a 1 year card. They don't do the 1 year cards like straight up anymore. At least not that often because it costs so much more. But in the end, it used to be a discount. It's like, hey, I save a little bit of money. They're like, no, no, we want you to do a month by month basis. We want you to forget about it and then keep on having this charge to your account.
mm,
And like most other subscription companies want you to do, it's they seem to be going backwards in the fact that they're not getting enough people retention involved. And so yes, this is the sign of weakness I'm talking about is, when you're making, hey, it's good for people who don't want to do long term or who are only going to dabble in it, but at the same time it's just like next, like what are you going to do? Imagine Sony being like, yes, you can play all your old retro games, your PS2, PS1 catalog. Now you can do that on the baseline PS, like the very entry level. Then why do you even need the higher tier? It's just like it's I don't understand why if they're in a good situation, they wouldn't need to do this. Um, is it good for us as the consumer? Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm absolutely okay with getting more
okay.
stuff for cheaper price.
So I tend to disagree with you here. I think it's actually the opposite. But it's only the opposite if they actually can do it. Um, so so I don't think of games as like this like a cloud gaming. I don't think of it as like selling a selling a game itself. It's more like selling a console. And they are it's like selling the infrastructure. So they're getting this into more people's hands. And if I was Sony, I would be very, I'm sure they already know that they already knew they were going to do this, but I would be very nervous about this because I don't think that Sony could do this if they wanted to. They don't have a they don't really have a cloud service. I mean, you can pay for it. You can pay for premium. It's not really pushed forward. It's not really I don't really know what is involved with it, but Xbox can. Xbox can do this, can get it in people's hands. They have that they are very, very, very slowly encroaching more and more on that territory. This is where it's going. Like this is going to be where everything goes. Eventually, it's going to go to the Netflix model, even for games, and they may not be as good for a very long time or whatever, but it's just a matter of time before it goes this way. Uh, and so I think that them doing this is showing, hey, we can do this. We can now give this to you at lower tiers. We don't have to make you pay through the nose because we have enough games to bring in people to do it. And the more people that do it, the more people that are going to do it, um, because they're going to be able to like have more money. They have the studios now. They have, they have Activision. They have Blizzard. They have a lot of the third party stuff. They have some hits. They had some hits. In Clair Obscur and I don't know how well the Doom the Dark Ages did, but people were talking about it. Seemed like people liked it. That's going to go in their catalog. I, I think um, that this is a show of strength. Honestly, I think it's the opposite. Um, but it really just remains to be seen. Like if they collapse and they can't do it after a year, then you'll be right. But I think if they keep doing it, then I'll be right because I just think it's going this. I think it's just going to keep going this way.
Well, they've always had the games. That's the thing is they've had a large collection of games. The Clair Obscur isn't a Microsoft Studio exclusive or anything like that. So it just happens to be that something they have on Game Pass. I'm not sure if it's available on their cloud service, but I do know that it is something that they have up front. And they pay for those games to come out day and day. So the thing is, once again, it was something that was reserved for the higher end, tier, and for them to have to drop it down to a lower tier, uh, to entice people to sign up. It's one of the things that it costs. It's like it's going to cost them more money. Like you've never bothered when you had it, you never bothered really dabbling in the cloud stuff. I played the cloud stuff for a handful of games, and I genuinely liked it, but the things I played were most definitely not the most intensive, games. It was mostly the indie equivalent stuff, and I found that to be a suitable experience to play cloud streaming to my phone while using a controller. And I mean, yes, they're offloading their console, their hardware stuff for their software. That's kind of their world. Everything is an Xbox now, so you you're going to want people to go to Game Pass, and if everything's an Xbox, how are you going to play something that's graphically heavy on a Switch where if it doesn't have a Switch native version, well then theoretically the cloud will do the lifting it can and it'll downgrade the quality to a Switch which won't be a problem because you're looking at a Series S equivalent.
Mhm.
So, I mean, they do have the money, but at the same time the constant uh articles about Game Pass more or less not making them a lot of money. Uh they are kind of struggling to find their own footing, especially when they're constantly being reminded that, oh yeah, Sony won this generation, Sony won last generation, and blah blah blah. Like, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, Sony won the PS3, Xbox 360. I'm like, in the end, kind of yes, but having worked in the retail space at the time, I was like, it was most definitely a 360 led and dominated,
Mhm.
landscape.
For
It
the
wasn't. It
the
was until the very end where Sony, like then PS3 finally pulled ahead,
and I
but all
mean,
the other
Sony has Japan. I mean, like Xbox isn't in Japan. It's like, well, that's their own fault. Yeah, it's like, yeah, but like Sony has like a whole country of 150 million people who are basically diehard Sony Nintendo fans. So like, they have a lot. Like that, they have kind of an ace in the hole there, and so for Xbox 360 to lead the whole time, and then PlayStation to come to like sell more in the end. It's like, yeah, but in America the feeling was that Xbox 360 had won because in our area it had. I mean, like everybody had Xbox 360, everybody that I knew did. I was one of the few people that had a PS3 with some other people, but most everybody that I knew in the dorms had a 360.
Yeah, but you and I have had this argument before too. How it's like I was just like, yeah, but in the like the grand scheme of things, I'm on side Xbox won that generation, and you're like, no, no, PS3 won that generation. I'm like, we've had that argument before. Uh,
Technically, I mean, technically, yeah, PlayStation 3 won the generation, but it's like when you look what like so it's like yes,
What
they won. They
dominated
made
it
they made them
for
like from a strategic money side, Sony did win because they made more money, they sold more units or whatever the thing is in the end. But when you so like that set them up for PS4 and now PS5. So like that has helped them, but specifically about that generation and how it felt at the time, I think yeah, there's merit to your argument that like the feeling here was that Xbox 360 was the winner for the longest time.
yeah. Well, right now, like I said, as far as uh for mind share, as far as Xbox is concerned, I mean, they've already announced that they're backing out of the handheld. Because now that they have the ROG Ally doing their handheld thing for them, but they were supposed to be making their own dedicated handheld. Now it's been rumored, more or less looking like they're not doing a handheld dedicated themselves anymore. While on the flip side, it's been more rumored that Sony is going to go forward and doing a with their handheld. So it's like, all right, um, Xbox is trying to do software, and it's going to slowly bow out. They're pulling a Sega essentially, is what it is. No one wants to say compare themselves to Sega because Sega is nowhere near the glory it used to be, and therefore, if Microsoft is going to, you know, in direct correlation to that, that's going to hurt the stock and bottom line. But we've seen how they've acquired companies and how they've let so much staff go, how they've seemingly like turned around like instead of doubling down or coming out with more solid ideas, they just seems to be backpedaling all the time. So this is kind of on that vein. They're like, we're gonna throw everything at this because Game Pass has to succeed. If it doesn't, I don't see how Microsoft stays strong without completely clearing house and then starting from the ground up again. They will have to do some major changes if Game Pass doesn't succeed, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Especially, because they made it real evident when the whole game, everything's a or everything's an Xbox campaign, and I'm like, all
I
right,
mean, like it depends on whether or not they can continue the games that print money for them. You know, Modern Warfare. Um, that's a money printer. It's one of the biggest games in the world. Um, Sony is
what
is
else do they have that spends money for them? I know I'm legit asking. Like, I'm like, none of they don't have the staples that they used to. You can't say Gears really. You can't say Halo. Anything that used to be a success for them. I mean,
but
what
Call of Duty prints a lot of money. I mean, it's
it also
literally one of
cost to acquire. That's something they just got, like in the grand scheme of their tenure. Like they just got that not that long ago.
yeah, but it does print a lot of money for them and they are looking toward the future. That's the thing is like this industry is a innovation technology driven industry and the console is uh it's been around for a very long time and it may not last forever. Like if Xbox, is going to stop selling you boxes, everybody has already has a PC or already has a phone or an iPad or whatever, and it's like you can have a much cheaper, hand me down iPad that can still stream a game. Um, that's going to bring in a lot of people who couldn't otherwise afford a $750, console. I just I I know that it does. I know that it looks like it's like, oh well, they're like letting more people in, so they must be desperate. And I'm kind of like, yeah, but these are roads. These aren't like these are roads to the show, not the show itself. And they're making it easier for people to get to it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're throwing stuff at the wall, trying to see what sticks. And unfortunately, because once again, they've had to backpedal so much on so many other things. And they really, I feel like they're a company that's lost their way. They don't have a real clear vision,
Mm.
and or the slash the staff doesn't know what the vision is supposed to be playing. Because I feel like the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. Uh, they the people who are doing all the press and all the talks, like they're like, yeah, this is supposed to be the idea, this is supposed to be the planning, and we're gonna make the next Xbox console is gonna be the greatest generational leap ever. And then they're like, the next announcement that comes out is, yeah, we're doing a handheld. I'm like, wait, okay, so what kind of messaging was that? And then, then afterwards they're like,
I
we're
mean,
doing a no, no, we said we're doing a handheld now, but we're also doing a partnered handheld thing with some another company. Oh yeah, so they came out with that, but we're gonna cancel our handheld now. So it's like they just, like I said, I feel like this is,
I mean,
if it was from a position of power, they would know what they're doing and they would have a better guideline, a better they would let in their own investors, they would let the public know. But instead they're trying to say, hey, we're coming out with this new console, and then the next thing you know, they're like, everything's an Xbox. It's just like, yeah, you don't know what you're doing, do you? Or at least not you're not all on the same page. If you're not on the same page, I can't see the company. I mean, still going to be around and all that stuff, but I just can't see them flourishing like they used to. And unfortunately, as we've seen, they love to fire a lot of people, and it's only going to bleed more and more people. They've gotten past the point of post merger. Like, yes, right after you merge, yes, you lose a lot of people.
mhm.
They're still bleeding people left and right, well beyond the merger point. They are, like I said, they're cutting the losses because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah,
Uh,
if they can't keep their cash cows going, then they will be in a lot of trouble. Um, the thing like Sony, it has been an entertainment company. They've been an entertainment technology company. They've always had TVs and cameras and stuff, but they've made movies. Sony's made movies for a very long time, and they understand entertainment. Microsoft makes Excel. Microsoft makes business software. That is their bread and butter, and you can kind of see the different mindsets between these two companies. So as long as if Microsoft can get to where they can let the entertainment people do that, then they'll keep surviving. And yeah, it's like I mean, nobody's hated the double Xbox scenario more than me. I've railed against a lot of the stuff that they've done, and I wish that they had actual games that I wanted to play more than just a couple. But from a technology standpoint, like I just think that this is where it's going, and if I mean maybe Sony's like we can do that, we just don't want to yet. But we can make cloud gaming, we can make that happen overnight if we want to. There's just not money in it yet. We'll wait for that and do that. Then if that happens, then yeah, Xbox will be in trouble. If Sony can make that happen overnight, then Xbox will be in a lot of trouble because they won't really have like very much going on. But for now, it's just hard to tell.
all right. Well, what else you got for the news, man?
Switch 2 development kits are still extremely scarce. I didn't know this was a thing. I probably had heard about it and just forgot, but basically, yeah, developers are having a hard time getting a hold of Switch 2 development kits, which seems really, really, really stupid if you're Nintendo. Um, so something else in the article alluded to that Nintendo was just saying just develop it for the Switch One, and it's like that's crazy if that was really what was said. So I just saw that and I was like, I mean, I kind of understand the idea behind, you know, constraining supply to create even more demand for buying the finished product of a Switch, um, but to not put out development kits for people that want to make games. I mean, maybe this is like people that aren't really serious developers or whatever, and so they're ignoring them because they're like, we don't want you to leak our development kit or something like that. I don't know. Maybe there's more to it, but I'm just like, why Nintendo? Like, just you need people to make games so that you can sell more games and make more money. Yeah.
I mean, if they only have a handful of games that come out for the system every year, then it's worth spending the $80, $90 per few games that come out. I mean, they're there, and it's the best way to get shovelware off the system if the people who make shovelware can't get their hands on the unit.
I mean,
Uh,
that is actually a good counter. Is like, hey, we learned our lesson with the Wii, and we're not going to do that shovelware stuff anymore. And so you can complain all you want about the development kits not going out, but they're not going out to the shovelware people, and that's
you
what.
do realize the Switch One has just a butt ton of like shovelware. It's pretty
Yeah,
garbage. That
it's
I mean, the fact that this is Nintendo's nutshell. Their eShop is complete trash through the entirety of the Switch, and they never once decided to make it better. Like that is how much they care. It's just I don't know. I don't
there's
get
more legit games for the Switch. There's still a lot of shovelware, but it's not as egregious as it was for the Wii.
well,
Um,
it got so bad to the point where like they were games that were constantly 90% off, like every other month, just so they would be on the top of the eShop garbage pile. And it's just like, yes, this game is like $1 because it's 90% off. I'm like, dude, I've never seen that game for $10. I've only ever
it's
seen it
always
for
been
the
at 90% off.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
that's the kind of crap that they got away with. Yes, the Wii itself was pretty notorious, but I feel it got far more nefarious on the eShop. The amount of things that just were not checked. There was no checks and balances. Um, Once again, my faith in Nintendo is next to none at this point. So it's not that surprising if they're just going to make it harder for people, legit developers who want to make things, people who want to try to get the most bang for the development buck. They're like, I'm making this. I want it to be on all the platforms because that way I can get seen and my dream, my vision for this game. Plus, I also want to make back what I put into it at least. If
Yeah.
I could make a profit, that'd be great. Uh, Nintendo just being difficult. That's not surprising.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just thought that was kind of weird, and it's a story I want to continue to watch to see if it develops differently.
Okay.
Um, there's an indie apocalypse going on. This was from Kotaku, I think. The 6 games pushed back their release date due to Silk Song coming out. Demon School, Eterna, Lucas, Little Witch in the Woods, Clover Pit, Mega Bonk, Baby Steps, and Phaland, all delayed. I'm sorry.
You said 6 games. That's 7.
Okay. Uh, that's what the article said was 6. So, and then I copied this. I'll have to pull up the article again. So it's not my fault. It's Kotaku's. At least 6 different. So I should have said at least 6 different indie games, including Baby Steps and School, pushed back so far. They have 7. I guess just because it has no new release date is why they're not putting it as 7. Anyway, yeah. So a bunch of games have pushed back, and these developers are. I don't know. I didn't read the whole article. I got to be honest, but they were saying that these developers are saying we're pushing it back because of Silksong, which I get. It makes sense. It's gonna be the biggest indie game to come out this year, almost certainly. So it makes sense that if you're in that same demographic, that you jump out of the way. It would have been nice for them to give a little bit more early of a release date, and we wouldn't have this. We would have had, some kind of release date at least a few weeks earlier. Then maybe these people wouldn't have all had to push back quite at the same time. But yeah, that's the way of it. And I guess these guys should have known that it was possible for Silk Song to actually get a release date. So anyway, I just thought it was funny.
Dude, Animal Well came out like over a year ago.
Yeah.
I could not. I just when you mentioned like the biggest indie game of the year, and I'm like, when did Animal Well come out? I'm like, and it's just like
We didn't
May 9th
like
of 2024.
okay, well, we played it on PS Plus. And I don't know if I don't think it came out immediately on PS Plus because I feel like I was like, oh, I kind of want to play it. Oh, it did?
I I want to. I actually want to think it did.
Maybe
It
it
like it
did
came.
then. Okay. I just remember being
Yeah,
like, oh, I kind of want to play that. And then when it came out on PS Plus, I was like, oh, great, it's out on PS Plus. I just assumed that it did not come out straight away on that. But then again, maybe, I guess it did. I don't know. Because that would be about the time that we were playing it, honestly.
yeah. Once again, I'm not 100% sure. I'll look that up later and I'll correct myself when I see fit.
Okay.
But it was just once again, I was just like, man, realizing that that came out that long ago. I'm like, I'm I actually do want Silksong to be good because of all the weight and I
It'll,
technically wise, it's going to be like a Kojima game. It's going to be good technically, but you know.
oh my gosh.
Uh, Whether or
Uh,
not it's for you, and your aesthetic, that's something else.
I'm
So
just going to
you
like
play some
spin the
song.
chamber. um, yeah. I mean, I'm sure it'll be. I mean, I'm sure it'll be good if it's just the same game, but like more junk, just like more of the same again. It'll be at least like good 7, 8, whatever people want to call good. If they do a lot more with it, then yeah, it's. I mean, it's their game to lose, or rather, it's their game to win, or whatever. So I think it'll be fine. Yeah. So last bit is that another Claire Obscur game is in the works, kind of. The director Guillaume Broche. I'm not really very good at French, but I think that's his name. He said in an interview that the first game was quote not the end, kind of alluding to that there's an idea for more of it. So uh,
Spoiler? I mean,
spoiler, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it ends. I haven't beat it yet. That is a game that I am intending to get back to before the end of this year. I'm like 10, 15 hours in, something like that. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that and because I thought that was relevant. But yeah, that's all I've
so
got for news.
I was gonna say, so according to the lore of the game, therefore should the next one should be what 32? Exp-
Yes.
they could time jump. They could make an expedition like 25, and then just make everyone super young. I mean,
Yeah. I
all right.
I don't know, but yeah, you'll have to talk to them about that.
Yeah, I need to get on that game. Most definitely. Still,
It's a
I
game that you should play a couple hours of until you see what they're doing, and then yeah, that at least that much I'd say.
Well, I mean, it hits all the RPG elements that I do like about the old classic RPGs. The active battle system, stuff like that. It's been on the PS5. I just other games have come into my view, and I'm now that I'm done with uh, Mafia, I'm like, all right. I played the whole Sword of the Sea. I that one's a short little experience, so I'm like, all right, most definitely take my time in that, especially since it just came out and it was easily available on the PlayStation Plus extras. Uh, but before the end of the year, I'll have to go back and dedicate some time to. I'm more interested in Claire Obscure than I am Death Stranding. I
That's
most definitely look
that's
forward to
the
that.
right opinion. That's the right opinion. Yeah,
All right, is that it for the news then?
yeah, that's all I've got.
All right. Well, thanks for pulling that together. And so this has been ADP, episode 141. Nick, what are some words of wisdom you have for the people out there today?
Um, if you have to jump on a tree naked, um, just watch out for pricklies. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. All right. Well, if you made it to the end, thanks. We appreciate it. And until next time, this is another Dead Pixel. Y'all take it easy.
Bye.